If you need to just lie down on the floor for a while and stretch and unwind, then you've come to the right yoga video. In this YIN yoga routine, we'll be doing lots of really nice, restful and relaxing poses that will help you to stretch your body and calm your mind. You'll need a yoga block or two and a yoga bolster. If you don't have a bolster, don't worry, you can use some pillows or cushions. So go ahead and grab whatever you might need, and then we'll meet back here on the mat. We'll start today in Sleeping Swan. So you might have your bolster on the mat like so, and if you don't have a bolster, you can just have a yoga block ready to rest your forehead onto. And we'll start by bringing our right knee forward. Left leg goes back long on the mat. And there's no right or wrong here with your alignment. Just do whatever works best for you. So we have our right foot in front of us. Weight stays somewhat in your hips, and then you're slowly coming on down, either onto your bolster or bringing your forehead onto the block. And we're targeting the right glute here, so as long as you can feel that stretch, you're doing this pose correctly. And we'll stay here for 3 minutes in total. Once you feel settled in your pose and everything feels sustainable, just try to find some stillness. Bring your awareness to your breath. No fancy breath work is required. All you have to do is breathe in and breathe out. And each time you breathe in, you might just notice the effect that that breath has on your body. And each time you breathe out, just feel as though you're relaxing a little bit more, sinking a little bit deeper into the pose. Now you can bring yourself back up very slowly, coming away from your prop. And from here we'll just slide into child's pose. So your left knee can come forward, knees can be wider apart or they can come close together, whatever works for you. Sitting on your heels if you can just bring yourself back down onto your bolster or onto your block. Resting here in child's pose for the next minute. And just feeling the echo of sleeping swan within your body. Noticing yourself breathing in and breathing out. And if you get caught up in thoughts, whatever they may be, don't worry, it's very natural to do that. As soon as you notice yourself thinking, just come back to your breath and back to your body. When you're ready to do so, you can pick yourself back up and now set yourself up for sleeping swan on the opposite side. This time your left knee comes forward, right leg stretches back. And if you looked one direction the other time, you might look the other direction this time to help to gently stretch out your neck as well. You can start to migrate back into child's pose. Taking your time to get there. And coming down to rest in child's pose for the next minute. Noticing how your body feels after practicing swan pose. And just feeling all this new energy that's starting to form in your body. Once you're ready to release child's pose, you can make your way back up into a seat. Pausing once you're there. Taking a quiet breath or two. From here, we'll make our way into supported bridge pose by placing a yoga block or two in underneath our sacrum. But first, you can come on down to lie on your mat, taking your blocks with you. Now your knees can be bent so your feet are somewhere towards your hips, but don't worry too much about where they are. And then you can lift your hips up and slide that block in underneath your sacrum. So find the right position that feels comfortable for you. We'll be here for the next 3 minutes. Palms can be facing up, arms taking up as much space as they need. And if you feel as though your body is craving to go a little bit deeper in this pose, and if you do have a second yoga block, then you can place the second block in underneath as well. If you have a bolster, you can also be resting your spine onto the bolster. And having your hips up in the air like this helps all of the blood to flow down towards your brain. And this can have a really calming effect on your mind. So just stay here for the next few breaths. Gravity, your breath, and your props will do all of the work, just helping to stretch and soothe your body. And there is an option to go a little bit deeper into this pose by straightening out your legs. Only, of course, doing so if it feels comfortable for your body. You can come out of the pose very slowly now, just going one stage at a time. So if you're using 2 blocks, you can remove 1, pausing on that first block for a moment. And now removing your first yoga block. Rolling your spine slowly back to the floor. And when you're there, just dropping into whatever position your body is craving. Lying on the mat, feeling the reverberation of supported bridge pose. And as you're waiting here, just checking in on your jaw, loosening it if you need to. Soften your facial muscles, relax your shoulders. Now you can make your way back up towards a seat on your mat. Our next pose is supported saddle pose. So there's lots of options here. This is going to look different for everyone depending on your body and maybe depending on what props you have at home. So if you do have a bolster, you can place it on the mat behind you. And you might even prop up that bolster with a block if you do have an extra block, so you can have it on a slant. So sit at the end of your bolster and have both of your legs out long in front of you. Now we'll start by bending the right knee and maybe bringing this right foot back towards your right hip if you can. If this is feeling really, really tight, then you can be sitting up on your other yoga block or maybe a cushion or a bolster, something that will help to elevate your hips. So our goal here is to stretch out this right quad. For some of us, you might already be feeling that stretch, and that's good. That means you're maybe done here in this pose and you can just stay here. But if you are craving a little bit more and if your body is inviting you to go a little bit deeper, well then you can start to very mindfully lean back, staying on your hands for now, paying close attention to this right knee, making sure it doesn't protest at all. And if it feels good, then you can maybe come down onto your elbows. And then if that feels good, you can allow yourself to completely relax into your bolster. We'll stay here for 3 minutes. But as always, if 3 minutes becomes too long, you can always come out of the pose earlier. Arms are taking up as much space as they need. Palms are facing up. And again here, gravity, your breath, and the props are doing all of the work. And just slowly taking away any tension from your body, creating space for calmness and relaxation. You can take your time getting out of this pose very slowly, just making your way back up one stage at a time. Eventually finding yourself with both legs out long in front of you. And you can do whatever you need to do, maybe circling out that right ankle, maybe taking a little stretch by folding forward. And now we'll repeat on the opposite side. So this time your left foot is coming back. What happens on one side of the body might not always happen again, so we have to be super mindful. Figure out what works for the left side. And then maybe you're slowly coming back onto your bolster, onto your back, or maybe just resting your head on a yoga block behind you. Now it's time to slowly come back up. Doing whatever you need to do when you're there. And then you can find a comfortable seat just to pause for a breath or two. Tuning back in and seeing how the body is feeling. Noticing if there's any differences to when you were here a few minutes ago. You can bring yourself back now, and we'll set ourselves up for our next pose, which is supported fish pose. So your bolster can come down to be underneath your knees, and then you can have 1 or 2 yoga blocks on the mat behind you. So we want to place the first yoga block like so, and this is going to prop up your chest, helping to open everything up. And then you may or may not need the second yoga block to rest your head on. And if you do need that, you can just place it on the mat like so. I know that I prefer not to have my head on a block, so I'm going to slowly come down, roughly aligning the edge of the block with the back of my shoulder blades, or underneath my shoulder blades, I should say. And then crown of the head sinks down towards the ground, or it can come on to that second yoga block. Taking time to adjust and wiggle and fidget and make sure you're comfortable. And we're going to stay here for 3 minutes. Here your lungs can take in lots of breath. And each time you exhale, you're expelling any old, stale air from your body. In a moment you can come out of fish pose, but take your time in doing so. First you might bring your elbows a little closer to you. Use them as support as you slowly lift your head. Sitting back up, you can remove your block from underneath and then roll your spine back down onto the mat. Just pausing here patiently as everything in your body falls back into place. Now you can slowly roll your spine back up off of the mat, removing the bolster from underneath your knees and bringing it back behind you on the mat. And again, you might make that slanted bolster position by having the block in underneath. Our next pose is reclined, supported butterfly pose. So again, you're sitting at the end of your bolster, and then bring your knees, or your feet rather, together. Nice and slowly, you can roll back down onto your bolster. And now just let gravity open up your legs. You're not forcing anything down here. Feeling this pose all within your groin and your inner thighs. We have an option here to take that second yoga block and place it in underneath the sacrum. But if you are doing that, just be very conscious of the position of your spine. You don't want to be putting any extra weight into it. So if it feels good, of course, keep it there and enjoy the pose. But if it feels a little bit off, then don't worry about having that second block in underneath. And we're pausing here for 3 minutes. Gravity is opening up your body, gently stretching everything out, creating little windows in your muscles for tension to leave, and then calmness and relaxation can come in. You can gradually ask your knees to come back together. And from here, bring your right knee up towards your chest, giving it a gentle hug, maybe stretching that left leg long. You can circle through your right ankle here if it needs to be loosened up. And then we'll release the right leg out long. Take the left knee in. And releasing your left leg now. If you have that block in underneath your lower back, you can remove it. And now we'll come into corpse pose. So you can have your props in whatever position feels best. You can keep the bolster in underneath your spine if that feels good, or it can come back down underneath your hips or your knees. And once you feel settled, we'll stay here for the next 4 minutes, allowing gravity to gently press you into the floor, feeling all of your muscles relaxing, noticing how your body is getting heavier and heavier. Your jaw is loose, your face is soft, your shoulders are relaxed, your hips are dropped, your feet have dropped. And stay here in this stillness and quietness for the next few minutes, and then I'll let you know when it's time to come back. You can start to bring a little bit of awareness back, making tiny movements. If you enjoyed this yin yoga class and found some value in it, I'd be really grateful if you could leave it a thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please do. I would love to practice with you again in the future. for now, if you're ready, you can bring yourself back up into a seat on your mat. Thank you so much for joining me for this class. I hope you enjoyed it. Questions and feedback are welcome in the comments below. I'll see you again soon on the mat, but until then, take good care of yourself.